7 pitfalls of buying MLM software. That's what we're here to talk about today. I've got Charles Moy with me, industry expert in the network marketing industry. I'm Dwight Calwhite with Apogee Software Extraordinaire. So let's dive right in.
Yeah, well, MLM software is a critical, essential part of a business. And when people are going to start an MLM company, one of the first things that they're looking at is software, because it's really the backbone of the company.
Sure.
Everything runs from it. It controls everything: shipping, commissioning, how people enter the company, how people relate with the company. So having the right MLM software is sometimes one of the first things somebody does when looking at starting an MLM company. And many times it's the first thing that they're cursing when their company fails, because it's so essential and so critical to launching the company.
Yeah, so let's talk about the different ways that people fall into pitfalls or the mistakes that they make when they're searching for MLM software.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest pitfalls somebody falls into is not being prejudiced. I don't want to sound too edgy here, but you want to work with people that speak your language, that understand your industry, that understand where you're at. If you're a seasoned company or a startup, and many times people will pick a supplier of software that's overseas because they think that they're going to save money or save time or outsource it. Well, we're talking about a critical part of the company, and if the people that you're working with to develop something as complicated as the operating system for your company, you want them to be speaking the same language, maybe in your same time zone, maybe even in your same region or area,
Sure.
so that you can work with them directly. And a lot of times I see companies failing miserably because they outsource it to somewhere across the world, and as their company's growing and their company reach hyper growth, the whole operation falls apart because they weren't selective to find people that were close enough to working with them.
That makes sense. I know that culture building is really important in the network marketing industry, and I know that a lot of that culture can come from your technology providers. So it's something not to overlook there. The culture that comes along with the software. So number 2, not being an ageist. What do you mean by this, Charles?
Well, an ageist, sometimes you select being with somebody, you're working with somebody because they're too old or too young.
Sure.
I'm going to recommend you be an ageist and you look at your software. Just because the software is old and has been around for a while doesn't necessarily mean it's better. If you've got software that's too old, it might not work on new browsers, new devices, new machines, different operating systems.
Right.
So there are software companies that have been out there for a while, and their stuff's built on ancient technology. And if you're trying to adapt that to a smartphone, you're going to have to do so many patches and fixes and corrections that you want to select the age of your software. Typically, software has a lifespan of 7 years on average. New operating system comes out for Windows, new browser versions, new printer technology. Just technology has a lifespan, and that lifespan is getting shorter.
Yeah. So
you want to be with something that is old enough and developed enough to be proven, yet new enough and fresh enough to be adaptable in all the different technology platforms that are coming out today.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, when it comes to software, be prejudiced, be an ageist. That's very good. Number 3, you get what you pay for.
Yeah, well, we all know the saying that there's no free lunch, but you really do get what you pay for. Many software providers will let you come in, set up for free, low down payment to start using software, and this is very commonly a trap. It's a trap because there's hidden charges all along the way, and as you grow, you're paying some ridiculous amount per member to come onto the system, and that cost has to be translated to new enrollments, which lowers commissions. Which there's a big trickling down effect when you're trying to hide the cost of your software everywhere. So also, if you get into a situation and you're just buying a basic software and you need to do upgrades, well, you're going to be paying for those upgrades along the way. In today's world of network marketing, it's so competitive. There's so many features coming out from well-established companies. For you to be competitive with your company, you're going to want to have marketing tools and APIs and language switchers and things that are I feel essential for a company to be successful in the marketplace today. But if you buy a cheap software, it might not have those technology features, and you're either going to have to not have them and not be competitive, or pay out the teeth to have those features added into your software.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. All right, number 4, factory food versus gourmet food.
Yeah, so software can come in many different forms, and I'm going to compare it to a TV dinner. So let's say you go into your freezer and you pull out a TV dinner, and it has all the essential things. It's got the veggie and the biscuit and the mashed potatoes and your meat portion. You pop it in the microwave, and boom, dinner is served. But with a TV dinner, you're going to be missing a lot of quality. And if you want to attract in the highest quality distributors, the highest quality vendors, expand worldwide, you don't want to be serving people TV dinners.
Right.
And if you try to soup up that meal and add something to it, you're still stuck with the core of a TV dinner. So when you've got base software that's out of a box or out of a can and it's not customizable, you might be stuck with it and you might have trouble scaling. Whereas if you've got gourmet setup going on, it may take longer to go shopping for the organic ingredients and cook it in the oven slowly and marinate things. But at the end of the day, you're going to end up with a product that is vastly superior. It's not even apples to oranges. It's factory food to gourmet. So be smart when going to pick your software and know that if you want top quality software, it might not come out of a can. It doesn't mean it needs to all be built by scratch, but it has to be thought through about the customizations for your company and the way that you want to build and grow your legacy.
Makes sense. In fact, it probably shouldn't be built from scratch. You got to find that balance there between software it's just too old and stale and not keeping up with the times, and software that is so new it hasn't proven itself yet. It's probably full of bugs.
Yeah.
So moving on to number 5, having an unrealistic timeline. Now that's a pitfall.
Oh my gosh, it's probably one of the biggest pitfalls for an MLM startup, and it's a trickle-down effect when you've got you're trying to rush your software provider, you're trying to rush your merchant account, you're trying to rush your product supplier, you're trying to hype the field and push something out prematurely, and all it does is create a lot of hype, a lot of false foundation. So taking the time to build your software, to build your product, to build your brand, to get your marketing message out there. MLM has had a problem with hype. And many company owners or people that try to get into riding the hype of a new trend, and they go to pull a big group, or it's like, oh, if I don't get this launched this week, all these people are going to be gone. Well, guess what? They're going to be gone anyway. If they're here for the sizzle or the flash in the pan, your company's going to be here for a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the MLM industry has been plagued by flash in the pan companies. And so you have to take the proper amount of time to get your company set up. From a software perspective, you've got to test it. You've got to test for bugs. You've got to test for your compensation. You've got to test for commissioning, shipping. You've got to try to break this thing. And if you're developing software and trying to rush it out there, there's not proper time for testing. Yeah. And inevitably, Murphy's Law is going to come into effect. And the worst thing is going to happen. The worst thing is going to happen at the worst time, and it's going to affect you in the worst way. So to avoid that, take time. Take at least 90 days to formulate and set up your company, and give your software providers enough time to build everything on a solid foundation and test it.
Okay. Very good. Number 6, pitfall, tail wagging the dog. What do you mean by this? Colorful analogy.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you ever seen the Labrador Retriever that gets so excited, right, it's waggling its tail so hard that it can't even control itself. It can't even walk in a straight line. Sure. It's just dizzy with excitement. Well, that's startup MLM in general. You can get your vendors so excited or so pushy, your software vendors that are pushy for a timeline, or your product vendors that are trying to push something out. And many times it's these big personalities in the field.
A master distributor.
Yeah, a master distributor that's rushing. And what you get is the tail wagging the dog syndrome. And that, again, applies pressure all the way up the chain. If you've got some distributor team that's really forcing a launch, and then you've got all these things that have to happen, it's like there's a disconnection. Like, the tail might be excited and it might be driving the energy of what's getting this dog jumping around, sure, but the tail doesn't always know best. So you as the corporate team. You're the intelligence in the company. Be very cautious not to let the tail wag the dog and push you in the wrong direction or rush something to ultimately the demise of the company.
All right. And then here we are with number 7, the final pitfall of purchasing MLM software is perfection is the enemy. Perfection is the enemy.
Yeah, so I hope we're not spooking you out here with these pitfalls, because the reality is 95 out of 100 MLM companies that start don't make it out of their first 3 years in business. But hey, a lot of businesses don't make it out their first 3 years in business. Our goal for the show is to get you guys beyond that, is to have more successful launches of companies, have a better overall feeling for the industry. Now, you can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs, and you've got to move forward. You've got to fail forward. Well, fail forward and do it as quickly as you can. Work through it, because there's going to be challenges in the launch of the company that are unknown to anybody until you're doing it. And so if you try to plan everything and find the perfect vendor, find the perfect product, find the perfect ingredient, and you try to get perfection going, you're going to be frozen, paralysis by analysis, and just be stuck in your tracks. Then you're going to lose all your momentum, and that right there will kill you before you even get launched. So perfection is the enemy. Fail forward fast. Take actions that lead to other actions, and use common sense and use these tips to launch your company and get your dream to reality.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you'll join us next time. We're going to continue this series. And this was the 7 pitfalls of buying MLM software.